Welcome to ERTT Radio, the eternal resistance to tyranny. I'm your host, Mike Dibble. Well, everyone is back now from the government shutdown. Over 400,000 workers are now back to work. And according to news reports, 1.2 million are now getting paid. So for you workers that have been laid off for the past couple weeks, congratulations, you're now getting paid again. The whole government shutdown thing, I have quite a few opinions on that one. The whole thing was pretty much political posturing. And the loser that came out of that was the GOP. Now, the Republicans, who I said when the shutdown started, was that the shutdown had some positives. It kept the Congress, especially the Senate, from passing any more stupid laws that they didn't read, fully understand, and force it on the average American. That was one positive that came out of the shutdown. Another one is a lot of the wasteful bureaucracy that has been plaguing our government since its inception. It has slowly gotten bigger since the 1800s. Positive with that is a lot of that wasteful spending was gone. The losers that came out of this was the Republicans. The Republicans were posturing. They wanted a balanced budget, which is what most Americans want. Balance the budget. Don't spend more than what you have coming in. And for years and years, the United States has been doing that. Spending more than we get in. Spending more than we get in. That's called deficit spending, which is very dangerous. It's borrowing on our future. So you may not have to pay it. Your kids might not have to pay it, but your grandkids and great-grandkids, 2 or 3 generations down the road, are going to have to end up paying this huge credit card bill that we as Americans are racking up. Well, the GOP decided, no, enough is enough. We're going to stop it right here. With enough pressure from conservatives throughout the United States, pressured the Republican Party to hold their ground. When they started doing this, I warned most of my friends, told them the worst thing that the party can do is to carry this on for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and then cave to the liberal Democrats' demands. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. After a week and a half, they threw in another, news media is always great at this, they throw in the new crisis that comes up. And the crisis they came up is, the debt ceiling. We've got to fix the debt ceiling. We're going to default on our loans. And if we don't fix this now, we need to pass a budget, extend the spending. So the outrageous spending that's been going on for specifically the past 6 years, can continue unchecked. So the Republicans caved in and passed this extension, if you will, of a budget until January. Well, the GOP successfully irritated most Americans for the fact that those, no matter which side of the aisle you are on, whether you are Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Conservative, Independent, Liberal, Socialist. The Republicans didn't win any party favors for caving to the Democrats. And that shows weakness. And all that's going to do down the road, mark my words on this, next election comes up in 2014, the Republicans are going to pay for it in the ballot box. No ifs, ands, buts about it. They will pay for this cave-in that they did. Personally, I don't think they should have caved in. If you're going to make a decision, stick with it, no matter how much it hurts. And yes, many of you government employees that were laid off, that were on furlough, that weren't earning a normal paycheck, I work with several of those that had the fear of not getting paid, were furloughed for several weeks. It really put a lot of pressure on them. And some of them started looking for alternative sources of employment. So I definitely feel for you. And the Republicans didn't do you any favors by holding their ground for a week and a half and then just caving in eventually. For those of us who believe the Republicans, the conservative side, was doing what was right, are also upset at the GOP for the fact that they're wishy-washy and they changed their minds. So the Republican Party won 0 battles by caving in. They proved the Democrats are the stronger party. Number 2, they demonstrated why no one on the other side of the aisle likes them, because they'll just give in anyway. And 3, why there's a major split in the Republican Party, because they don't do what grassroots conservatives want them to. The moderate and the liberal Republicans, which is pretty much based as the Republican establishment, they don't get along with the conservative side and would prefer to do away with us as part of their party. So the GOP really handed that one over to the Democrats. So we'll see in 2014 what happens, and probably into 2016. This will be brought up for the next several weeks and months about how the Republicans caved in. And it definitely showed weakness by the House Majority Leader, that is, Eric Cantor, and on the Senate side, Mitch McConnell. Those two are definitely getting assaulted from all sides of the party. So for those of us that are voters, old enough to vote, these Republicans that voted for ending the government shutdown and extending this budget to January 2014 should definitely feel the pressure come voting time. And that is definitely my encouragement to you. That is one of the best ways us as United States citizens can put pressure on our representatives, our senators. One is by faxing, calling, emailing, traditional mail, getting a hold of them, telling them how you feel, getting in touch with your representatives and telling them this is how it should be. After all, they represent you. So your voice is important and should be heard. We all pay taxes in one form or another, and we have a right to have our voices heard one way or the other. Now back to the government shutdown. The world opinion of the United States is definitely a lot lower in the past several years than it has been in decades, all the way back to President Carter. Talking with some of my international friends, it's just a big question mark of what in the world are we doing to ourselves. Every year, pretty much since President Obama has come into office, the Congress can't seem to pass a budget. And it is not all laid on the president. It is, the majority of it lays on the Congress, both the Senate and the House. We put a lot of trust in the president having all the power, which he really doesn't. He is the figurehead. All the laws, according to the Constitution, are passed by Congress. All the really dumb things that we have to follow sometimes, the laws that make no sense, that just get passed without people knowing what's in it. Nancy Pelosi, when it came to Obamacare, pushed out that we need to pass it to find out what's in it. What common sense was she using? I have no idea. Keep that away from me. That's all I know. But I briefly touched on Obamacare. Why it passed? Well, I was asked this. Why, if this bill is so horrible, why did it pass? Well, I can tell you, pretty simply. A lot of people got what they wanted out of it. What I mean by that is Obamacare being thousands of pages. I actually did some searches on the bill, and it was a couple thousand pages, the original bill. If it wasn't for the internet and the search function, it would have taken me weeks to read the bill. So I know nobody in Congress read the whole thing. They read their little piece, their little part in it, and that's all they really cared about. Nobody read the whole thing. So why it got passed? For the past several years, decades, we have been putting idiots into office. people who promised us more, people who sounded great on TV, people who said they would do this for us, or pass this law, or support this. So we put them in office. Sometimes not knowing what we got. Other times we knew exactly what we were getting. And because of the 500, 600 some odd folks that we have sitting in the Congress today, that's how things get passed. And they really don't care. Why does it apply specifically to us, you might ask? The Congress, the politicians in general, all the way up to the President, Supreme Court, the gigantic bureaucracy that we have developed, they, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, view themselves higher than the average citizen. So, it's fine for them to pass laws, as long as it doesn't apply to them, because they're special. They serve the public good, as they will tell us, which technically, they should be serving the public good. But do they really? They get paid more on a monthly basis than a staff sergeant would get paid deployed, getting shot at, taking bullets for our country. Give his life, if need be. Do politicians really deserve that kind of pay? For a military member to retire, not medical retirement, but a full retirement, they have to work 20 years for that retirement. And even then, they only get 50% of their basic pay, depending on what grade they're in when they retire. Politician, those in Congress that is, they only have to serve one term before they have themselves retirement. So for the health care, military members especially, they have what is called TRICARE. I can guarantee you most military members did not support Obamacare. They have a government health care, and if you ask them, they will tell you the problems with it. The great Affordable Health Care Act came out. We knew what it was. Another government program that was going to end in disaster. Well, the more the politicians read into this bill of what they passed, they read through it like, ooh, I don't want that. I don't want my family to have this. I don't want my friends to have this. So let's put in an exemption. We're exempt. So, politicians are exempt. Why? Because they know how bad it is. They don't want any part of it. It's one possibility. Another possibility is they think that they're better than we are. They hold this public office that we put them there. They represent us. So they must be better. That is a load of crock. Politicians are not better than you and I. Oh, they may have made more money. They may have sucked up to the right person. Brown knows their way to success. But all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. So all men. That includes the politicians too. So with all this political shenanigans that goes on, they think they're better than we are. They're not. It's an aristocracy that has developed in the United States. For years we have tried to emulate Europe and their traditional way of doing things. Their sense of nobility, of the proper way of doing things. But on hindsight, do we really want any part of that? France, for instance, so they had their aristocracy, they had their kings, and they also had hundreds of revolutions, most of them bloody. Are these the kind of things we want for our country? Do we want our leaders to exempt themselves from the laws that we have to follow? I don't think so. And I'm pretty sure you tuning in, you don't believe so either. Now, on another note, with the Obamacare came this enormous price tag. Trillions of dollars. How anybody could think that is responsible spending is beyond me. Because it's not. It's flat out not responsible. Monetarily wise. There is no reason why the current healthcare system had any major problems. You know, people said, oh, I couldn't get treated because I don't have healthcare insurance. You go to the emergency room, whether you have insurance or not. You have a problem, you will get seen. I know that from first-hand experience. I have been to the ER. Whether they had insurance or not, if it's an emergency, if their life is in danger, they will get seen. Granted, emergency rooms are usually packed, and it has a long wait on occasion, but you still get seen. You're not put on a several-month waiting list to get that emergency transplant that you need just to live. There's no one in a back room thinking, how much is your life actually worth to the public? Should you really get this transplant if you're 65? How much do you have to offer anymore? No, we had a good healthcare system. Had is the operative word. And with the enormous price tag on it, premiums have gone up for most average Americans who had decent health care, sometimes up to 300%. They're having to pay now more under Obamacare. And what's even worse, the government contracted out the website that you're supposed to register on, which is full of bugs. I'll touch on the government bugs another time. But they contracted this out to who? American contractors, right? No. Bill Gates. He knows how to run Microsoft, right? And Microsoft never has any bugs, ever. Nope, that probably would have been a better choice. No, they contracted out to Canada. And needless to say, nothing personal against my Canadian friends, the program doesn't work right. Flat up. It has all types of bugs. It would crash, you couldn't log on, and in order to even see your premiums or your choices, when you sign up, you had to register and put all your information in. How does that make sense? All I want to do is look. Is it going to be worth it to sign up? They don't want to tell you that. Why don't they want to tell you that? Because they know it's not a good system. But they think we should all have it. Except for them. So on the money side of that, the enormous debt that we have incurred over the past 6 years. We've doubled our national debt. I don't want to lay the blame all on the president, although he has a great deal to do with it. A single budget hasn't been passed. Oh, they will throw something, a continuing resolution they call it. But the money still gets wasted. Trillions of dollars. Our gross domestic product isn't worth a hill of beans in the international community. And the waste begets waste. It gets worse. And you have the few who try to tackle this. Try to rein in the spending. There's not many. Because what they try to do is you have the liberals and the conservatives and those in the middle, called the moderates. You can be a Democrat conservative, very rare. You can be a Republican liberal. But somewhere in the spectrum you are one or the other, or you're in the middle as a moderate. Well, what happens is there's a handful of conservatives, and they want the fiscal responsibility. We want them all to have fiscal responsibility. But balancing the budget has become a political toxin. And what I mean by that is the few that try to tackle it, the first thing they accuse them of is, oh, you're trying to take health care away from seniors. Or, oh, you're trying to take benefits away from these people. Well, as soon as you start talking about the average American not getting their benefits, the I'm owed something mentality that has prevailed throughout our society for years, as soon as they don't think they're going to get their take, they're all up in arms. Hey, why am I not getting my cut? Well, did you work for your cut? I hear silence. No, you didn't work for your cut, so why should you get any? If you didn't do the job, you don't get the pay. Simple as that. Well, these few Republicans that try to tackle this monumentous task of controlling our outrageous spending are pretty much accused of hating this group, wanting to take Medicaid benefits. And that is the standard ploy that one side uses over the other. Now, most Americans have credit cards. I have credit cards, unfortunately. For an average person, average thinking person, bear with me now, you go out, you buy yourself a TV, buy yourself a sofa, okay? You have a certain amount of credit limit, period. That's it. No more. You max it out. What happens? Do you spend more? No. I would laugh if somehow you called up Visa and told them, well, I maxed out my credit card, but I still need to pay my bills this month. Give me another $2,000 credit. They will probably laugh. You maxed out your card. You don't get any more. And for some reason, as soon as this concept hits Washington, D.C., for some reason beyond my understanding, as soon as this idea hits Washington, D.C., all common sense in the universe disappears. And they think that as soon as they max out our credits in the world, oh, well, they can just add more. No problem. We'll just add more credit. I don't know what they're thinking, but obviously they have been so far removed from being a normal, hard-working American that they don't know what's going on anymore. So for the most part, definitely understand that there are a few that are trying to balance the budget. Not many, but there are a few. My suggestion to those of you who are listening is definitely do your research. No matter what I say, what the news media will say, the truth is out there. Everyone will have their opinion of the truth. Some opinions are right, some opinions are far from right. And I thank everyone for joining us here at ERTT Radio. As always, stay free and die free.